Hello, everybody. It's Crypto Caesar Capital. Hope you are well. It's the 18th of May, 2023, and it's about 3:15 in London. Okay, so today I want to have a look at the cycle of Bitcoin, because a lot of people at the moment are calling an all-time high this year in 2023. And I disagree with that, because Bitcoin has never broken the cycle that it has followed thus far. And of course, it may well break the cycle at some point, but I just don't think this cycle it's going to do that. And generally speaking, Bitcoin follows a 4-year cycle, and it doesn't print or make an all-time high prior to a halving. Okay. An all-time high happens in a cycle, then Bitcoin has a bear market, then the halving event happens, and then Bitcoin goes on a rally and prints an all-time high and moves from that price upwards. So not once in history has Bitcoin ever printed an all-time high prior to a halving cycle. Okay. And we can see that in the charts here. Let's have a look. Okay, so this is the first halving around about the 3rd of December or so, or 28th of November 2012. That was Bitcoin's first all-time high. Okay, and it came down. There was a big sell-off. Okay, and then there was a bit of a run-up, and then it just went sideways, and then it started gathering a little bit of pace into the halving, and then it went parabolic. Okay, but you can see that the all-time high, the first all-time high of Bitcoin, which was $31, the first cycle, $31 was not reached during the end of that cycle going into the next cycle, so to the halving. So a new cycle begins at the point of the halving, or it's arguable that a new cycle begins at the bottom of the cycle, but we can come on to that in a moment. But my point is this, is that in 2012, Bitcoin had an excellent rally, basically went from a cent all the way up to $30. Then there was a big sell-off, okay, bit of a bounce, then there was a sideways action, then there was a slow grind into the halving. Soon as the first halving came, then there was a parabolic move to the upside. Okay, and this was the second cycle, and you can see the first halving here, 28th of November 2012, and Bitcoin rallies out of the halving like it always does. Bit of a sell-off there, coming back down, continued rally to the upside. Then it reaches its all-time high. Okay, which is $1,175, and then there's a bear market all the way down to its bottom of $166. Okay, so the all-time high for this cycle was $1,175. Okay, and did Bitcoin break above $1,175 in the rest of the cycle? No, it didn't. It came down into the bear market, found its bottom, went sideways, accumulation zone, slow grind up, sideways, slow grind up, sideways, into the halving. Then it started gathering pace. And it wasn't until some months after the halving event, which was on the 9th of July 2016, that it actually breached or tested the all-time high, and that took until March 2017. So it was a significant period after the all-time high that it actually tested it again and broke through. The all-time high was in November 13. It didn't actually come to test it until March 17, so a long time later. And here we are. Here's the all-time high of 2017, and that was about $19,000 or so. We have the halving, comes out, tests the previous all-time high, rejects, comes up, big rally, big rally, FOMO rally, right, blow off top, right to the top, 19,000 or so dollars. Then it sells off. Okay, and then the bear market ensues and it finds its bottom. Okay, and then once it's found the bottom, bit of an accumulation zone, then there's a bit of a strong move out. To be fair, it did get close to the all-time high in that overextended rally to the 786 back in 2019 July, but it got to about what on the wick 13,561 depending on which chart you look at, but it still did breach the all-time high. Okay, came up, bit of a sell-off, went sideways, probably would have continued sideways if it wasn't for COVID black swan event. Then halving happens, then sideways action, and then nice parabolic move to the upside. Obviously, the all-time high was in December 2017. It didn't breach that until November 2020. So considerable amount of time later. So you can see the pattern here, can't you? You can see that there is a distinct pattern, and Bitcoin is has a very cyclical nature. Okay, it works in cycles. And part of that reason is probably because of the halving cycles, which are not every 4 years. Everybody says the halving cycles every 4 years. That they might be close to 4 years sometimes, but they're actually not 4 years. It's not based on time. It's based on the amount of blocks mined. So it's every 210,000 blocks. But my point is this, is that there is a clear cycle here where Bitcoin doesn't want to breach the all-time high during the cycle that it's just been in, or the current cycle. And it's after the Bitcoin halving event that it breaches that all-time high. After the Bitcoin halving event that it breaches the all-time high. Okay, halving event, breach of all-time high. So I don't really think that this time is going to be any different, I'm afraid. I mean, there are a few catalysts that might break the cycle, but I still don't think that they would be powerful enough to do that. I mean, one of them might be the sovereign wealth fund adopts Bitcoin, a significant sovereign wealth fund. But still, even with that, I don't think that it would be able to breach that all-time high prior to the Bitcoin halving. And the next Bitcoin halving is April 2024. So my view is that I think we've got probably some little bit of decent upside for the remainder maybe of this summer. Then I think potentially a sell-off, bit of sideways action into the halving, or just a slow grind, a slow grind into the halving. Anyway, we're going to have a look at, in a moment, we're going to have a look at the 4-year cycles, and I'll show you how that kind of works, and measuring from peak to peak and trough to trough or bottom to bottom. There's a clear cycle there as well. But we'll have a look at that in a moment. But before we do that, here is an advert from our sponsors, Bitget. You get a deposit bonus and a trading bonus if you simply use my referral code, okay, which is coming up on the screen now. And also Bitget have a really, really good competition at the moment where you can win 80,000 BGB. It's their super airdrop. And if you want the full details of that competition, just go to the banner on their website or their official Twitter page. But it's an excellent competition. It's completely free and it's worth signing up for. Link in the description. If you want the full details of the competition, go and check out their website and their Twitter. Okay, back to the video. So let's look at the 4-year cycles. Okay, so we've looked at how in the past, okay, obviously, you know, everything doesn't, the past is a good indicator of what might happen in the future, but it's not an absolute indicator, is it? But excuse me, I've got a bit of a cold at the moment. We've had a look at how Bitcoin doesn't like to breach a previous all-time high until after the next halving event. We've looked at that. Okay, that's quite clear. And the data suggests that will continue until it doesn't. But so that's that. Let's have a look at the 4-year cycles. Now, the 4-year cycles, there are many different ways to look at cycles. Okay, there are many different ways to look at cycles. But one way of doing it is by measuring the peak of each cycle to the peak of the next cycle, and the bottom of each cycle to the bottom of the next cycle. Now, this is a weekly chart. Okay, so each bar or each candle represents 1 week of time. Okay, so this was the first Bitcoin halving event. Okay, Bitcoin rallied out of that halving, and then it sold off and found its bottom in January 2015, and the high, of course, was in November 2013. So the peak of the halving was around about the peak of the price was around about November 2013. Okay, and if we measure the peak of the next Bitcoin high after the cycle, so we got this peak, sell off, halving event, next peak. Okay, so this is the first cycle peak, this is the second cycle peak, and we can see there, you can see that it's 210 bars, so that's 210 weeks. And of course there are 208 weeks in 4 years, so not far off 4 years, within a couple of weeks of 4 years. Obviously that's not very interesting really, because it's only one measurement, right? But and then if we measure the bottom of this cycle, okay, so you got the first halving, parabolic rally, sell off, bottom. This is that was the bottom. Okay, if we measure from bottom to bottom, here you could see that this is about 210 bars or so. Well, I mean, actually, you can bring it back there because that was the bottom. So yeah, about 210 bars. So again, 2 weeks off 4 years. Okay, so that's interesting, isn't it? So it takes 4 years essentially to go from this peak to this peak. Okay, about 4 years, and then it takes 4 years to come from this bottom to this bottom. All right, so let's measure the others. When we have the peak in 2017, so December 2017, to the peak in November 2021, 205 bars. Okay, so 4 weeks off 4 years. Okay, pretty close. Then we've got the bottom in December of 2018. Okay, and then this bottom in November 2022, 205 bars. Okay, so you can see that there's a clear pattern here. Okay, peak in 2013 to the peak in 2017, 203 bars, not far off 4 years. Then you've got the bottom in 2015 to the bottom in 2018. Okay, about 205 bars. Then you've got the peak in December 2017 to the last peak, 205 bars. Then the bottom in December 18, and we had the bottom here in November 2022. Now, this is why I was calling the bottom. You know, I mean, cycles can come early, cycles can come late, but generally they come in within a sort of a window of time within, you know, 3 months or so. And it seems that the timing band for Bitcoin is 4 years. So we have 4-year cycles from peak to peak, 4-year cycles from bottom to bottom. And also we have, importantly, the data which suggests that there won't be another all-time high until after the next halving. And the next halving is the 8th of, or thereabouts. The scheduled halving is about the 8th of April, 2024. It could come a little bit sooner, it could come a little bit later, but that's kind of what we're looking at the moment. So if Bitcoin continues to follow the 4-year cycle, which it may well do, you know, it certainly isn't broken yet. And in my view, you know, you don't have to follow this exactly, but it's something worth taking into account, isn't it? When you're either taking positions in Bitcoin or selling positions in Bitcoin. One thing that you can take into account with lots of other things on top. But the next top, if we were to go by the 4-year cycle, would be around about, so 208 weeks from the last top in November 2021. The next top would be around about November 2025. Okay, so that could be the next top. However, you know, we can't say exactly that it's going to happen bang on November 3rd of November 2025, but what we can say is kind of, you know, if Bitcoin has had a really good rally, you know, out of the halving, just had this great big rally out of the halving, okay, and you're here and Bitcoin is trading at a pretty high price, you know, whatever it might be, 6 figures or so, hopefully, and we're around about November 2025, that might be a time to start thinking to yourself, well, you know, previously there have been these 4-year cycles. You know, I've got a really good position down here in the 20K range, 15K range, 18K range, and I've ridden this all the way up now. And it's just been going up, up and up. You know, history tells us that there's going to be a point where Bitcoin starts to really sell off hard. So, you know, if Bitcoin gets into that window, you know, anything between sort of October and December, I think it might be a good time to start looking to take some chips off the table if you're a long-term position trader, you know. So whilst, you know, this is not an exact science by any means, what's pretty clear, right, when we look at these charts, what we can take away from this, if you're a position trader, you know, and you're holding Bitcoin, you know, for a long period of time, you know, if you're taking positions at bottoms and trying to sell for maximum profit, what we can take from this is 2 things really, right? The first thing is that not once in the history of a Bitcoin cycle has Bitcoin printed an all-time high prior to a halving event. And not, well, on every time in Bitcoin's history previously, it's generally peaked out 4 years from the previous peak and bottomed out 4 years from the previous bottom. So it's some pretty solid information to take away, in my view. And of course, as I say, not an exact science, but certainly something worth taking away and considering, certainly if you're a position trader. Anyway, that's the video today, a bit of a long one. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to join the group, you probably know about the VIP group we run. We've got an excellent VIP group. It's really, really cheap. It's basically $1 a day. It's $365 for 1 year membership. It's one of the best Discord communities in crypto. Check out the link in the description, check out our website, reach out on Twitter to me, and we can get you into the group, or you can email me via the website. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I shall speak to you all soon. Thank you very much for listening. Bye-bye.